Hi everyone, this is Ann and this is my mind map. I chose to do an opinion writing piece in the content area of social studies. The students in my class are very familiar with the story of Ruby Bridges. So I thought with Black History Month coming up in February and Ruby Bridges, I could do a writing piece. And down the bottom, I'd like to show you that I have my mentor text, which is Through My Eyes by Ruby Bridges, and resource text that we will be using throughout the lessons. I also have listed the core curriculum standard for language arts in first grade, an opinion piece. And it says, write opinion pieces in which they introduce the topic or the name of the book that they are writing about. State an opinion, supply a reason for their opinion, and provide some sense of closure. So that's what we'll attempt to do. My first lesson, I'm going to go over the difference between fact and opinion. Facts being a statement that is true, and opinion being a statement of how you feel. So I'm going to attempt to give them one of my opinions, and that is that fall is the best season. I would then show them 3 different facts that would support my opinion, such as the weather is an average of 65 degrees and the leaves fall from the trees. And Thanksgiving and Halloween are in fall, and they're my favorite holidays. So once I do it, I would have them do the same thing and pick a season and tell me what their opinion is and 3 facts that would support it. Afterwards, I would read Through My Eyes, which is my mentor text. My students have read this before, and so this is good to review it with them. Once I'm finished, I'm going to do a journal question, which is, how do you feel about Ruby? What are your opinions? What opinions do you have about her teacher? And after each lesson, I usually have them write in their journal so they can remember what it is that they just learned about and they can review it. So I'm going to have them write in the journal, and then as they're writing, I'm going to be walking around and conferencing if they need some help, or just to make sure they're right on track. So then I'm going to go on to my second lesson, which is about the title, and I'm actually going to do the ending sentence of the passage, because that's in the core curriculum standards. So I'm going to put on an interactive article from Scholastic on my smartboard. And whenever I put an article on the smartboard from Scholastic, the kids take over. They do it independently. And it's called Ruby the Brave. And I liked it because it was an example of a good title. They're going to read through the article and brainstorm other titles for this article. They're also going to play a game where they have to match up the title, a good title for a passage. And that's going to get them into the swing of finding a good title for a passage. And I put down here a couple recommendations. I also have a journal question with that, which is what other sentence would you use to end the article? And that's important because in all 3 of the passages that I have from the group that I'm working with, none of their samples have a title, and they have to work on their endings. So that's why I did that. And of course, as they're writing, I'm walking around conferencing and sitting with them if the people that really need some help. I have over here, we do a buddy read and write. Usually you do a buddy read, but for us we do a buddy read and write because my kids struggle. So my aide and I are going to model a buddy read of the book, The Story of Ruby Bridges, which is another one that they've read. And we're each going to write an opinion on the board to the question, do you think you would have gone to school if you were Ruby? So we're going to write on the board, and then we're going to give a fact. If we think that, yes, I would be too afraid to go in because there were too many people outside screaming at me, then we would give us facts for that opinion to shore it up. And then my aide would do the same thing. And then the students are going to take their turn to write, but they're not going to use this book. They're going to use a book on their level, which is Ruby Bridges Goes to School. So they're going to buddy read, and they're going to work with each other, and they're going to write using a graphic organizer as their draft. And they're going to do things like, I put on the side, don't forget to use your period, capitals, because we have a really hard time with conventions. So, afterwards, we're going to do a journal question, which is not really a journal question at all. It's really just writing 3 sentences that backs up your opinion. And if you notice, with all the journal questions, these are going to be part of their passages that they're going to write, their writing passage. So when we have time to do the rough draft, they really just have to go back in and look and see how they felt about these things and try to plug them into their rough draft, which is next. So I put my title, I would have stayed home, because that's the title I put on my passage. And then they're going to write and edit their paper. Do you think you would have gone into this school if you were Ruby? And of course, I'm going to sit with them in conference. It takes us a really long time to write, especially when we're doing our rough draft, because they have to put all the pieces together. So it really is very individual. So we're in a conference and we're going to finalize there. And they're going to write it out in their good paper. And then our last step is they're going to present their paper. And this is probably the hardest part for my students because they really don't like to read aloud. However, I have a little podium and it usually has stuffed animals on it and they think that's great. So they're just going to stand up there and they're going to present their paper to the class. And that's my mind map.